6:47 a.m. The alarm again. Your thumb finds it before your eyes open. You lie there for 4 seconds. Just 4. Long enough to remember you don't have to. No blazer on the chair, no badge by the door, no inbox waiting with the subject line that always starts with, "Quick question." No elevator small talk rehearsed in your head before you've even brushed your teeth. You quit 11 days ago. Nobody clapped. Nobody cried. Your manager said, "We'll miss you," in the tone people use for weather. HR sent a form. The Slack channel said, "Send you off," with 3 emojis, and went quiet by lunch. By the next morning, your name had already been removed from the shared calendar, like a chair pulled out from a table that still had 10 other chairs around it. You expected the silence to feel like relief. It feels like a room with the furniture removed. Level 1. $0 a month. This is the level nobody warns you about. Not debt, not hustle, just the absence of a schedule that used to think for you. You sit at the kitchen table at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. No meeting, no calendar invite, just you, a laptop, and a decision that has to come from somewhere inside you now because there's no manager left to make it. You open 5 tabs and close 4 of them. You make coffee you don't drink. You check the time twice in an hour, out of a habit built over 6 years, before remembering there's nothing at the other end of the clock anymore. The rule: freedom doesn't feel like freedom for the first 30 days. It feels like falling, with no ground marked yet. Your phone buzzes. A friend, still employed, texting from a bathroom stall on his lunch break. Must be nice. You don't answer right away. You're not sure yet if it is. You look around the apartment. Dishes from yesterday, laundry half folded, a to-do list with nothing crossed off. It doesn't look like the postcard version of quitting your job. It looks like a Tuesday with the volume turned all the way down. You open your bank app 11 times that first week. Not because the number moved, because checking it is the only structure you have left. You go for a walk at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, a time slot that used to belong to a meeting called Weekly Sync. You notice how strange it feels to walk past your old office building without your badge in your pocket. Nobody inside knows you're out here. Nobody's shift changed because of you. The building keeps running exactly the way it did the day before you left. And something about that steadiness, the fact that it didn't need you to keep existing, is the first quiet proof that maybe you don't need it either. Level 2. $1,200. That's the number your first invoice clears at. A logo design, a landing page, a client who found you through a friend of a friend. $1,200 for 19 days of work you would have called not enough at your old job. In your old currency, where a paycheck showed up whether you were proud of the week or not. Here it's different. Here, the $1,200 means something. It's proof, not income. Proof that a stranger, someone who owed you nothing, paid you directly for something only you made. With no manager approving it first, no title validating it, no company name softening the risk on either side. The rule: the first dollar you earn without a company's name attached to it recalibrates what money means to you. It stops being a number and stops being evidence. Your rent is $1,400. You do the subtraction in your head at a red light. It doesn't scare you the way it should. That's the part that scares you. That a number this thin didn't wake you up at 3 a.m. the way it would have a year ago. You've already started trusting a version of the future that hasn't proven itself yet. You tell your parents you're doing freelance for a while. Your dad asks if that's steady. You say it's getting there. Neither of you believes it yet, but you both let it sit unchallenged because the alternative, saying it out loud that you have no idea, feels heavier than either of you wants at dinner. Level 3. $6,800. 4 months in. You've stopped announcing new clients to anyone. You've noticed people ask fewer questions when the number is quiet and consistent, and more questions when it isn't. Consistency, you're learning, reads as boring to people who need a story, and as safety to the version of you that used to lie awake doing rent math. A cousin asks what you actually do now at a family dinner, in the voice people use when they're deciding whether to be impressed or worried. You give the short version. He nods like he's still deciding. Somewhere behind his eyes, he's running the math on whether your life is a cautionary tale he'll bring up later, or a bet that paid off he'll ask about again next year. The rule: the world doesn't know how to file you anymore, and it will keep trying anyway. You buy a desk, a real one, not the kitchen table. You tell yourself it's for productivity. It's also the first time in months you've spent money on a version of yourself you're betting on, not one you already were. You assemble it alone on a Sunday, and there's a strange, specific pride in tightening the last screw of a piece of furniture nobody told you to buy. Level 4, 14,000 a month. This is the level where the calendar stops being empty and starts being yours in a way that's heavier than it sounds. Every hour unbooked is an hour you chose not to fill, and the guilt of that follows you into rooms that used to feel like rest. You've started working Saturdays, not because a client asked, but because stopping feels like admitting the momentum was borrowed. A former coworker messages you at 11 p.m. Saw your new site. Looks like it's going well. You reread it 4 times trying to find the tone. There isn't one. That's the part nobody explains. The read is yours to build now, because the silence used to be filled by water cooler conversation, and now it's just silence. Silence has no inflection. The rule: at 14,000 a month, the money stops being the hard part. The distance is the hard part. You skip the group chat plans twice in 1 month, not because you're avoiding anyone, because you're mid-project. By the 3rd skip, nobody asks anymore. That's how it starts. Not a fight, not a falling out, just fewer invitations. Quietly, the way a tide goes out without announcing it. You notice the group chat has a new inside joke you don't understand. From a night you weren't there for, and you scroll past it fast, the way you'd scroll past a bill you're not ready to open. Level 5, 28,000 a month. You hire your first contractor, a video editor, part-time. Someone else cashing a check with your name attached to the memo line for the first time. There's a version of this moment you pictured as triumphant. It isn't. It's quiet, almost administrative. A contract, a payment schedule, a Slack channel with one other person in it. But something shifts the day you approve someone else's invoice. You are no longer just earning. You are now the reason someone else's Tuesday has structure. The way your old company's Tuesday used to give you yours. The rule: the day you pay someone else is the day the job you escaped starts looking for you in the mirror. Your old manager reaches out, wants to pick your brain over coffee. You go. He asks how you did it, and you notice, halfway through your answer, that you're translating your life into a language he'll accept. A title, a niche, a strategy. Because the real answer, that you just kept going when it was uncomfortable and underpaid and unclear, sounds too small to be worth the coffee he bought you. You start declining calls that used to be automatic yeses. Not out of arrogance, out of a growing sense that your time now has a number attached to it, even when nobody's paying you for the hour directly. Level 6, 61,000 a month. The number stops feeling real around here. Not because it's abstract, because it moves too fast to sit with. A client pays, a retainer renews, a product you built 8 months ago sells 41 units while you're asleep, and you find out over breakfast, scrolling, the way you used to find out about other people's Tuesdays. You stop telling people the number, not out of shame, out of a growing, specific awareness that the number changes how they listen to everything else you say, how a joke lands differently, how advice you give sounds like a lecture instead of a conversation, how a simple "I'm tired" gets heard as a complaint from someone who has it made. The rule: money this size doesn't buy louder rooms, it buys quieter ones. Your best friend from the old job gets laid off, you offer to help. Connections? A referral? A project if he needs the bridge income. He says thanks, and something in his voice closes a door gently while he's still smiling. You recognize the tone. You used it on someone once, a long time ago. before you understood what it cost the person on the other end to hear it. You buy nothing extravagant that month. You notice you don't want to. The version of you that pictured this level spending freely isn't the version of you that's actually here. Level 6.5, 83,000 a month. There's no level card for this one, no clean round number, just the stretch between the ceiling you thought was permanent and the one that turns out to have been temporary the whole time. You hire a second contractor, then a third, and somewhere in there, you stop calling it my business out loud and start saying we, even though half the time it's still just you at 11 p.m. answering emails the team already answered hours ago, because checking feels safer than trusting. A tax bill arrives that's larger than your first year's entire salary at the old job. You stare at it for a long moment. Not with panic, with something closer to recognition, like meeting an old classmate you didn't expect to see again. Except this one costs you 6 figures. You pay it in full, on time, and you don't tell anyone, because there's no version of that story that sounds like anything other than bragging, even though it isn't. The rule: the bigger the number gets, the fewer people you can tell the truth to about it. An old friend posts something online about people who got lucky and never talk about the real story. You know it's not about you. You still reread it 4 times. You've learned by now that other people's resentment isn't proof you did anything wrong. It's just proof that the gap between where you are and where you started became visible to someone standing on the other side of it. Level 7, 110,000 a month. You've stopped counting in a month by now, mostly. You count in quarters, in runway. In the 6-month buffer sitting in an account, you check the way you used to check a fridge. Not because you're worried, out of habit, out of a version of caution that never fully leaves, no matter how far the number climbs. You buy your parents' mortgage down, quietly, in one transfer, no announcement, because you learned somewhere in level 5 that the gesture means more without an audience watching you make it. Your mother cries on the phone, not from the number, from what the number means. That the version of you she used to worry about at 6:47 a.m. alarms, the one who couldn't sleep over a $1,400 rent check, is the version who just did that without blinking. The rule: the number was never the point. It was always just the proof that let you stop asking permission. You sit at the same desk you bought in level 3, different chair now, same window. The alarm doesn't go off anymore. You wake up on your own, most days, before it would have rung anyway, your body having quietly rewritten the schedule nobody assigned it. 4 seconds. That's still how long it takes every morning to remember you don't have to. Some mornings, that thought feels like the reason for all of it, the proof that the falling in level 1 led somewhere solid. Some mornings, it feels like a room you built alone, furnished carefully, quiet in a way that has no group chat left to fill it. Both are true. Nobody tells you that part before you leave. You think sometimes about the version of you at 6:47 a.m., 11 days after quitting, the one sitting at the kitchen table with 5 open tabs and no crossed-off list, checking a bank app 11 times a week just to have something to check. That version couldn't have pictured this room, this window, this number. And some quieter part of you knows the reverse is true too. That this version of you, sitting here now, has already stopped being able to picture whatever comes after level 7, the way every level always looked unimaginable from the one before it. That's the part that stays with you longer than any of the numbers do. If you've lived any of these levels, or you're standing at the edge of one right now, say where in the comments. There's more like this if you want to keep thinking about it.